The news is sending shockwaves through the wireless world. Verizon will begin selling iPhones in January. That ends AT&T's exclusive lock on the popular smartphone. We're joined now by two experts. One who is predicting this as far back as December of last year. We've got Brian Marshall, analyst for, Gleacher Company. Also here we've got an analyst, Chandan Sarkar from Auriga. Chandan has hold ratings on both AT&T and Verizon. Brian Marshall, you were predicting that this would happen. What's this going to mean for AT&T?
Well, I think from AT&T's perspective, and just to clarify, Pimm, I don't formally cover it, but my personal view is that this is going to be problematic come early next year. I think it's good that AT&T is actually securing all the upgrades for the iPhone 4 and locking in those customers for the next couple of years. But, clearly when the iPhone comes to Verizon early next year, I think that's going to be problematic for postpaid net add growth at AT&T.
Chandan, what does this mean for Verizon? Is this going to give a boost to the company?
I think it's a positive. I think that when they launch next year, they're probably going to end up using this iPhone as the spearhead to their new fourth generation network, what they call long-term evolution, or LTE. And I think that combination is going to be quite potent in the marketplace.
Chandan, do you think this means no more dropped calls for people that use iPhones that have been wondering about whether AT&T is going to upgrade their network?
Well, LTE is going to be a brand new technology, and as much as we'd like to think that just by moving away from AT&T, everything is going to be perfect, it's probably going to have some issues early on, I suspect.
Brian Marshall, what about the deal that Apple may have cut with Verizon? I mean, it's been a very good deal with AT&T. What does this mean now?
Yeah, that's a good point, Pimm. I estimate that AT&T and Apple have a sweetheart deal from a carrier subsidy perspective. Roughly $450 goes from AT&T to Apple for the activation of an iPhone. I think with Verizon, it's going to be a different story. I actually think it's going to be more like their international carrier partners, which roughly pay about $300 per iPhone. So I've got that forecast coming down in my model already baked in. So pretty much no impact to my numbers.
Brian, is it possible with a new network added to the iPhone that we're going to even get more robust applications available for those iPhone users?
I don't think we'll have too much of an impact on the app's growth, Pimm, from my perspective. I actually think, it's going to, Verizon network, by and large, is better than the AT&T network, in my opinion. So I think we're going to have better quality of service. But at the end of the day, AT&T was brought to its knees by Apple and its vast customer base. I worry about the same thing happen to Verizon over time when they get, 10, 15 million users on their network.
Chandan, what do you think this means for AT&T? I mean, I know you worked at AT&T. You were designing telephone systems previously. But what does this mean for AT&T's future? I mean, they've relied on the iPhone for a lot of their subscriber growth.
It is clearly a negative. I mean, to some extent, it's been long anticipated by the market that Verizon would eventually get the iPhone. But when the press release eventually hits, I do see that AT&T's stock is probably going to take a one-time hit at least. Overall, though, I do think that they've been smart using the iPhone 4 to lock up a lot of the customers here for the next 2 years. And so that's probably the way they're going to choose to play some defense here in the near term.
Do you think that we're going to get sort of these multi-tiered pricing plans that AT&T has introduced for people that use different amounts of data on their smartphone?
Verizon has already come out and said that it's definitely going to be a tiered service on 4G. And I think slowly what's happening here is that both of the large carriers have realized they can't really afford to do all-you-can-eat pricing because just a very small percentage of the customers end up hogging huge amounts of the network, and they don't really get paid for that.
All right, I want to thank you very much, Chandan Sarkar, coming to us from Auriga, and Brian Marshall coming to us from Gleacher Company. And Brian, congratulations for getting your iPhone 4 today. Good work. All right.